guys, Attorney Walter Knott. I just want to go through something real quick. So basically, I had an issue where I took the second shot for Pfizer for the COVID vaccine, and I got really, really sick, had to go to the hospital. And so as a result of having to go to the hospital, I basically was put in a position where I called up Pfizer and I said, hey guys, would you mind actually helping me with this bill? Because this was directly related to me taking this COVID vaccine. And the first time I got sick, and then the second time I got really sick and had to go to the emergency room. And I got a really terrible response from them. I called their corporate office, and basically I was really unhappy with their response. And I started to do some basic checking up on Pfizer to see what was going on. Now, I want Pfizer to be successful in their vaccine. I want it to be successful in safely keeping me the same person I am without me potentially being altered in some way in a negative fashion and not being able to be affected by the COVID. And I know they can't get all the different variances, but for the majority not being affected or as badly by COVID. So then I started to do some research, and I realized, what you guys want to know? You want to know who is literally, essentially the biggest criminal in human history? All right, so financially speaking, like who is the group who had to pay the largest fines in human history? Okay, marketrealist.com. Pfizer paid the largest criminal fine in U.S. history. Lawsuit details by Danielle Letenier, August 26, 2021, published 2:43 p.m. Getting full approval from the ADA for its COVID-19 vaccine is a big deal for Pfizer. The FDA stamp of approval is a critical step in getting a drug to the market. If a pharmaceutical company starts promoting a drug for something that the FDA hasn't okayed, it can get in big trouble. In 2009, Pfizer agreed to pay $2.3 billion. Imagine having $2.3 billion in money that you had a capacity to pay for wrongdoing that you did in a criminal and civil liability lawsuit stemming from the illegal promotion of certain drugs. At the time, it was the largest healthcare fraud settlement in history. In 2012, healthcare giant GlaxoSmithKline, GSK, agreed to pay $3 billion in criminal and civil charges for the unlawful promotion of drugs like Paxil and Wellbutrin for uses that weren't FDA approved. However, Pfizer still holds the record for receiving the largest criminal fine in history. How the FDA approval works for some pharmaceutical companies. Under provisions of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act enacted in 1938, the FDA approves pharmaceuticals for specific uses that a company identifies on its application. After the FDA approves the products as safe and effective for a specified use, a company's marketing of its drugs must be limited to the FDA approved use. Uses other than the FDA approved are considered off-label uses, and the FDA considers these misbranded. So basically what they're saying is, if you come out with a drug and the FDA approves it for one thing, you can't advertise that it will cure this and work for that and reduce this and do that. You can't just start attaching things to it. Otherwise, it's like you're selling snake oil that keeps evolving as to what it can potentially help you with. GlaxoSmithKline's $3 billion settlement was the largest in history. In the GlaxoSmithKline case, the company got in trouble for promoting the antidepressant Paxil for use with patients under 18, even though it hadn't received FDA approval for pediatric use. GSK also got in trouble for promoting Wellbutrin for weight loss and treatment for sexual dysfunction, substance addiction, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, even though the FDA had only approved it to treat major depressive disorder. So yeah, and that's the point. It's back in the day, I've got this magical potion, if you will, a magical potion, and it will treat addictions, ADHD, PTSD, sexual dysfunction, other substance addictions, even though it might give you a substance addiction, major depressive, it'll do all these other things for you, right? Even though it was only approved by the FDA for you to be able to advertise it specifically for major depressive disorder. So that's where it became unethical for these companies to go ahead and overreach and say, we've been successful with this product, now just believe. It's called the halo effect. Believe us that it will be successful with all these other impairments that you might have. Besides pleading guilty to 5 criminal counts and getting a criminal fine of about $1 billion, GSK was also found liable for civil charges for promoting the drugs Paxil, Wellbutrin, Advair, Lamictal, and Zofran for off-label, non-covered uses, paying kickbacks to physicians to prescribe those drugs, as well as the drugs Imitrex, Lotrinex, Flovent, and Valtrex, making false and misleading statements concerning the safety of diabetes drug Vandia, I'm not actually sure how to pronounce that one, reporting false best prices and underpaying rebates owed under the Medicaid drug rebate program, which is a big deal. That's fraud on Medicaid. Pfizer received the largest criminal fine in history, however. In Pfizer's 2009 settlement, the company had to pay a criminal fine of $1.195 billion, and subsidiary pharmacy and Upjohn Company Inc. had to forfeit $105 million for a grand total of $1.3 billion. It's still the largest criminal fine ever imposed in the U.S. The company pled guilty to felony charges for violating the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act by misbranding the anti-inflammatory drug Bextra and promoting it for uses that the FDA specifically declined to approve due to safety concerns, the Department of Justice stated. So basically, they had a product. It worked for one thing. The FDA looked at it for other things, but said, no, it's not safe for these other things. Then they advertised that it could be used for those other things, and then they got in trouble, and basically felony charges were brought against them. A settlement was reached in 2009. Mega money. Mega money is to be paid out. Pfizer also paid $1 billion to resolve allegations under the Civil False Claims Act that the company illegally promoted 4 drugs: Bextra, antipsychotic drug, Geodon, antibiotic, and anti-epileptic drug Lyrica. The settlement claims that Pfizer paid kickbacks to healthcare providers to entice them to prescribe the drugs. So what we learn from this article is that financially the biggest criminal in American history is Pfizer. Now, that's not to say that we don't want them to be successful. They treated me very poorly when I was on the phone with them. In fact, they hung up on me. When I called their corporate office to ask them if they would pay, it was a, 2-minute conversation, and she hung up on me. I don't like them. They treated me poorly. I want their product to be successful, but I've started to do this research and find out there's some problems here. When you essentially are financially the biggest criminal settlement that's out there, and I mean, just for a moment, let's just make it a smaller number. Let's just make it an easy number. Imagine in your head $1 billion. Use pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, dollar bills, $100 bills, whatever you want to use in your head. Imagine $1 billion. $1 billion. $1 billion is enough to fund another stimulus easily. It'd be a small stimulus, but it would be a stimulus. $1 billion. Imagine as a company you had $1 billion to lose. Think about that. How many doctors' offices could take $1 billion hit? Unless they were connected to like the largest hospital, probably not. How many businesses in general could take $1 billion loss? I mean, probably less than 5,000. Probably way less than 5,000. You know, like your Walmarts could, your Home Depots maybe, your mega trust fund groups, stuff like that. But $1 billion as a settlement to criminal actions that they knew, intentionally ignored, that's bad. Now, I'm pleased to see that the FDA approved the COVID-based drug. Because remember, we have to look at each one of these as a drug-by-drug basis and what they did. So I'm pleased to see that it went through. They're finding it healthy. They've done the studies, etc. We're no longer in the, well, just try it, see what happens. But just remember that there is a problem here, that the biggest financial criminal payout, as that article stated, is Pfizer. That's interesting, something to consider. It's not de facto that this company can't produce great products. They do create great products. It is a problem, however, that at the end of the day, unfortunately, they create situations where they've been sued and had to pay out the largest amount in human history as far as America goes. That's the problem, you know? So, and just consider that, all right? My name is Attorney Walter Knott, Disability Resolution PA. We do want the vaccines to effectively work. For those who don't want to take the vaccine, I fully support your right to choose not to. I don't think you should be forced to. I don't think companies should be allowed to force you to take it. I think that they should make alternative options to a vaccine for you to be able to take it. And then there's the other side of people arguing, well, look, the government's paying for it, so you should just take it. We're not going to get into that, But remember, human rights are not political. At the end of the day, you have a right to what you do with your body. All right? My name is Attorney Walter McNaught III. I'm with Disability Resolution PA. Have an absolutely wonderful day. Remember, I go live every Thursday, 8 to 10 p.m. If you want to ask me questions, that's fine. Catch up with me then, and we'll go from there. All right? 8 to 10 p.m. every Thursday live on YouTube. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.